we talked about indoctrination and propaganda, something that was used a lot by Stalin to get people to see his point of view. You guys tell me from what we talked about last week, what's propaganda? Persuade somebody? Anybody else?
Try to get them to do what you want.
Yep. I said there was one thing you always have to remember about propaganda. What was it? I briefly mentioned it in the lecture. First, you know what it was?
What?
The one thing I mentioned about propaganda. Whenever you see it, there's one thing you always want to remember. It's bias. Whoever's putting it out, it's bias. They want you to see things the way they do. And that was what Stalin did. He would have people go out and do lectures on the ideals of communism in the public venues. There were state-supported youth groups. They were training the youth of Russia to be communists, to see things in the communist way. Same thing about tattling on their parents. The Soviet newspapers and radio stations were glorifying the achievements of communism, Stalin, his economic programs. So everybody in Russia was told that everything he was doing was right on track, it's exactly what they needed, all through this propaganda. There was no freedom of press. Stalin could tell the newspaper editors what to publish in the newspapers, whether it was true or not, it didn't matter, that they did what they were told. So I came across this website, and it talks about how one of the things that Stalin was known for doing was erasing people from pictures, books, people that he killed, he didn't want people to know what to think about them. So I have a few examples. So Stalin's bloody reign is not without a certain irony. Nikolai Iezhov, the young man strolling with Stalin, which you can see over here, there's an extra guy in the picture, was shot in 1940, shot and killed. And it seems only fitting that when Iezhov is removed from the photograph, he is replaced by the waters of the Moscow Golden Canal. Iezhov was commissioner of the water transport. So it's things like this. You'd go through, this is a little before the day of photoshopping, it's a little easier now, and you would erase people from pictures. People he had killed, had eliminated, and no longer wanted people to think about it. On the left over there is a postcard, the original, and then over here to the right. Propaganda sees every opportunity to get their message across. In the original photo, the sign on the building says watches, gold and silver. Now it reads, struggle for your rights. Likewise, the flag being waved, which over here it's blacked out, you can't even see anything written on it, says down with the monarchy, long live the republic. Over here. These are the things that people were seeing. They weren't allowed to see the actual true pictures. They were all edited to show what Stalin wanted people to see. This is censorship. They were hiding the truth. This is a picture of Trotsky. On the left, he's reading Pravda, which was the Bolshevik newspaper that he, at one time, was the editor of. And then this is from someone's personal collection that they etched out his face. All part of the indoctrination and thinking that Trotsky was no longer someone that they were supposed to look up to or think was right about anything because Stalin got rid of them. This was Stalin's competition. Fewer pictures. This is with Lenin and Trotsky. In this picture, these ones are a little harder to see. Over there you can see that Trotsky's in the picture, and over here he's been eliminated. Standing over here, he's standing next to the pulpit. Down here he's gone. Basically making Trotsky no longer exist. He didn't exist in books, he didn't exist in photographs. His ideas no longer existed. Stalin took over everything. This is one of the more disturbing ones I found, and it's one of the things that Stalin wanted people to think is that he is your friend. He's here for you. He's only trying to make you better, your life better, Russia better, and that's what you should want as well. So he was everyone's little friend of the little children. Most of this picture. This little girl is holding. Her father was actually shot for allegedly plotting to go against Stalin, and her mother was murdered mysteriously by Stalin. So here in the picture that everybody in Russia is going to see is that he's just, this little girl, hugging, kissing children, typical political thing, but actually he killed her family. That's not, you're not going to read that in this newspaper article anywhere. You're not actually killed this little girl's family and left her an orphan. All you're going to see is this picture of him being loving Stalin. This picture is of, Lenin's sister actually took it. This is his wife sitting with him. It looks like a gun. I don't know if anybody else, when I first saw it, I thought it looked like a gun. It's actually a telescope. In the middle one, this is the edited version they use, and they actually moved the telescope out a little bit, so even more looks like a gun. Finally, they got rid of it over here. But even things like that, they weren't.
Why did they do that? Why did they get rid of it?
Because it just looked a little too weird with the look of the gun. Right up in here.
Huh?
I didn't see that until
No.
Oh, yeah, into it.
Oh.
It's a good take this picture. Take a picture.
And this is a picture after Stalin died. The original picture, no one's around him, nobody's there. The entire country is not mourning him like he would have wanted. But they went and they cropped pictures of mourners from other actual photos and placed them next to Stalin, so it looks like the entire country is mourning Stalin. Like I said, this is before the day of the internet. You can't look up the actual version. This is all they have to go on. It's kind of back in with censorship. He did not tolerate individual creativity if it threatened conformity. It was all about conformity. All about being part of what he wanted it to be. He used art, you'll read your textbook, even art became a form of propaganda and censorship. He controlled all newspapers, motion pictures, radio, and other sources of information. So like today, we're putting out, 10 new movies a week or something's coming out for you guys to go watch.
Yeah.
Back then, not as many movies. But Stalin would have controlled everything that was in it. If he didn't like it, it was out. If it spoke out against him, it was out. I mean, there's plenty of movies we can go see now that are going to talk negatively about presidents that we've had. Current president, that's all fine in the United States. In Russia, it's not okay. You're never allowed to do that. He also used religious persecution. A lot of people who are religious are going to hold their religious beliefs above anything else. This did not fit in with Stalin's plan. Nothing and nobody is above Stalin and the communist state. So he would replace religious teachings with ideas of communism. That was the most important thing. That should replace your religion. He told people that religious beliefs are just superstitions. You should believe them. They're not true. The Russian Orthodox Church was obviously big in Russia. He went against them, Roman Catholics, Jews. He burned and destroyed churches and synagogues. When you drive down the street, nowadays, you see tons of churches. That's another visual reminder of something that he did not like. So you get rid of them. Religious leaders of all faiths were killed and sent to labor camps. It's kind of a running theme throughout this. If Stalin does not like you, he will just kill you or get rid of you so you're no longer seen. A few more pictures of propaganda. Some of my famous ones. Up here, CCP is USSR. He's at the helm of the ship, basically. He's leading Russia. The one in the middle, underneath it says, day after day, life becomes even happier. This is promoting the communist idea. Day after day, I just keep getting happier in Russia. Everything's working out for me. I'm just a happy person, following along with everything Stalin wants. Another Stalin holding a baby. He just loves children. Down here, down with religious holidays, it pictures people just being drunk in the streets. Religious holidays, there's nothing about those you shouldn't be celebrating. They're not good for Russia. When it came to education, the government controlled everything. From preschool to the university. Every single bit of it they had their hands in. Instead of learning maybe about some of the basic things that you would think they would teach in school, they taught about the virtues of the Communist Party. If you question the Communist Party's interpretation of history or science, whether you were a student or a professor, you'd lose your job, you'd get shipped off to a labor camp, you'd be killed. And because of the industrialization that he was doing and the agricultural revolution, the economic plans required a high demand for skilled workers. So a lot of people were getting education, a lot of people were being highly skilled workers because it was necessary in the country at the time. these Soviet women. With the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, women won equal rights. Under the 5-year plan, they had no choice but to enter back and they had to go into the workforce. Everybody was working. Kind of like the idea of total war that we talked about. Everything's going to the war, all the resources. This is everything.